as our last couple calls have gone, we're going to try to keep this as brief and concise as possible so that everybody can get back to doing what they need to do. The team is cooking hard right now. Oh, there's Paul. Sweet. For the subject matter of the call, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to give a little audit update first, talk through that a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the proof of concept BAL ETH pool, auto pool, which is very exciting. I'm sure most of you saw that announcement yesterday, the integration and collaboration with Balancer, which is super, super awesome. Then we're going to talk about auto pool ecosystems at large. And then we're going to talk about some of the more fun stuff, the NFT stuff at the end of the call. Am I missing anything else, Sharp, from that list?
I can actually start by giving a very brief intro on ECC.
Oh yeah, that's a great call.
Yeah, so I attended ECC. I came at the DeFi panel on the Shared Security Summit. A lot of good reactions with regards to what we're working on Autopilot. And one of the topics, it was basically how to simplify DeFi for mass adoption. And that's precisely what we're doing here. We're making LPing accessible to anyone, and it was very well received. Besides that, I also met with several partner protocols. Really good to develop these relationships in person. And yeah, I'm very excited to bring on board more ecosystem auto pools and really show all the pieces that configurable auto pools can bring to essentially streamline LP provision for other protocols.
Do we know yet if we're going to get a recording of that panel?
I'm not sure, but it wouldn't be the first time event that it takes quite a while until these things get updated. Like the last one that I spoke at, it was in Madrid, and it took like 2 months or so to have everything available. But as soon as we have anything from their side, I'll be happy to share.
Yeah, I figured the same. So we'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll ping them and see if we can get that as soon as possible and share it for everybody. Okay, cool. That's great. I think maybe Craig, do you want to kick off a little audit update?
Yes, happy to do that. So as everybody knows, who's been following along, we've been in our final audit, and we're happy to say we're reaching the end of that audit and in the final stretch. So we expect to have our preliminary report by the end of next week. And that's a pretty significant milestone. We are in touch with Hexens at least weekly, and they keep us informed, and we actually talk through any potential findings. And up until this point, knock on wood, nothing still has been found that would materially impact our schedule. So we're feeling really good about that. It's probably good to reflect for a moment with the community, because it's important to us, and I think it's important for everybody as we go to market, that we're very happy with the level of depth that Hexens is getting into in the code. That's reflected in the depth of the conversations we have with them, and the nuanced parts of our system, and the questions that they have for us as they're going through the code base. What we want from an auditor is somebody who's intimately familiar with the code, as familiar, ideally, as the devs who wrote it. And that's pretty hard to find. It's a unique skill set for somebody who has had nothing to do with the system and can enter something totally fresh, spin up on it, and ultimately get to basically the same level of understanding as the devs who wrote it. And I think we're finding that with Hexens. So we really feel good coming to the end of this audit, that we've gotten a thorough review, and that helps build our confidence, in addition to all the security measures we take internally as we're writing the code. So feel really good about that. Next steps are once we receive the preliminary report, that gives us an opportunity to kind of formally review all of the findings and respond to them and create fixes. Again, we've seen a lot of this. I don't expect there to be surprises with this preliminary report. And based on the fixes, then we'll deliver that code base to Hexens, who will review the fixes. And that timeline is hard to predict, but again, nothing that has been found in this audit is major enough that it would lead to us considering major refactors of the code that would take longer than we would want. We do have a small follow-on audit for incremental code the team has written over the course of this audit. We think we're going to be able to get that done in parallel with the audit fix. So again, this is great. We're getting more sort of functionality in the system without really extending the timeline. So we feel good about that. And the security part of this continues to drive our critical path. And we'll keep you guys posted as we make more progress. It's certainly not the only thing that's being done. We have other things, the front end, the marketing piece, which you'll get updates on. Those should all be ready, and tons of progress. But again, it's the security really drives the critical path. And updates will come, specificity and harder dates will come as we get closer.
And I'll just chime in to sort of summarize. The punchline here is it looks really good as we're coming out of this audit, and we're feeling good about having sort of a DeFi summer launch here. So excited about this, and also it's been a long path going through formal verification, going through crowd-based bounties, going through multiple audits, culminating in this very comprehensive one that we're getting back right now. So team's feeling good.
Getting close to the finish line, baby.
I can say something real quick about the marketing strategy. I think you guys have probably noticed we've been posting a lot more. We're trying to post every day. We're also taking like a ramped approach. So, we really have tried to like reset expectations and make sure that people know like the product is serious. We're very serious about it. So, most of the fun stuff, the more like what you might associate with quote unquote marketing, generally that's being reserved. So there's quite some assets. You've probably seen some glimpses of them. I'm starting to leak here and there some of the like more art focused stuff. And we will obviously, once we have a set launch date, we can start to set the schedule of like the very exciting marketing assets around that launch date that allows for me to like build and maintain momentum through people's ability to actually deposit and do something with the product. So I'm saving a lot of these things in order to really like put our hand up in the air at a time at which people can take action. So we've been saying for at this point years about all this cool stuff. There are things that I built a year ago that I've had to sit on for this long, but I think you guys will be really excited to see. Yeah, it's generally gonna be fun when we start to blow them all up.
Yeah, I got to strike while the iron is hot and capture that attention especially when people can come and start using the product. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. All right, let's talk about BAL-ETH, the balancer auto pool. Noel, you want to take that away?
Yeah, sure thing. So we're super excited to be able to announce that we're collaborating with Balancer to launch the BAL-ETH auto pool. It's currently in the proof of concept stage. Things are lining up very well for our own launch. And it's really important to understand the inputs for the Balancer ecosystem. So Balancer becomes an obvious project to collaborate with, given that they are the liquidity hub for ETH LSTs and ETH LRTs. And by having their own auto pool, they are essentially able to streamline liquidity provision, not just for the current addressable market, for anyone that is willing or wants to have a passive exposure to BALIF itself. Something that needs to be highlighted is that while providing liquidity manually, all of these LPs need to differentiate, for example, different AMM models, track all of these different pools, the underlying APRs. And with the BALIF auto pool, all of this is abstracted for the balancer ecosystem. So the BALIF auto pool will integrate different pool types, like, for example, gyroscope concentrated liquidity pools, composable pools, metastable pools, and the entire provision process becomes essentially abstracted for the end user while providing a composable receipt token, which is BAL-ETH, that we're very keen on integrating in DeFi. Namely, for example, a BAL-ETH pool on Balancer itself to really showcase the unlock that you get from having a tokenization of a network of liquidity. And this is really what it is. When you look at these receipt tokens, you need to remind yourself that the underlying to this token, it's an automated liquidity network, and this just brings unprecedented efficiency to the liquidity space. Anything to add here, guys?
Maybe one note, I'm not sure if somebody would have hit this at an alternate time. This type of approach to a partner auto pool has been something that we've chatted about on these calls in the past, often in the context of an LST protocol who might want to offer a product to their community to make it easier to LP, which should increase liquidity for LST protocols and even reduce costs for supporting liquidity over time. And we've had it in our minds and been in discussions with DEXs along the way as well. And what you see here is hopefully the first of many partner ecosystem auto pools. And I think this is going to be a really strong proof point. Balancer's a great partner. They are the dominant DEX, certainly on mainnet, for LSTs and LRTs. And those are great pools for users. That's why Autopilot is focused on these pools with solid yields. And I think we can offer users a very diverse set of pools with good yields, all within an ecosystem that's already really strong in the types of products that we're offering to users. So it's a great partnership, and hopefully as we start to look at beyond this of how we can apply auto pools to different types of protocols, we'll see more of it.
It was also great to see the excitement of both the community and other projects to essentially get a branded receipt token that, again, just streamlines liquidity provision. And this can be applicable to beyond DEXs, also L2s. So we've already discussed Base ETH. It's integrated on our UI. And whenever you have a specific ecosystem that has multiple liquidity pools that LPs can opt into, you need to think about how Autopilot can be applied to this as a tool that just allows you to configure your own auto pool with your own receipt token that can be marketed to your Vision network.
It's also worth noting that immediately following the announcement of the Balancer collaboration, an inbound lead effectively dropped. We're not going to talk about what it was, but that's definitely notable. That's the idea, is that this would be some level of a watershed moment. Everyone needs an auto pool. Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's a good time to transition to one of the cryptic images that Paul shared on Twitter. So Paul has been doing a great work thinking about how to make the branding for these ecosystems feel more genuine, and how to make, for example, Bal ETH itself cross collaboration between Tokemak and Balancer itself in terms of the artwork that was provided. So if you want to give some insight, Paul, into the NFT that you shared, it would be great.
Yeah, sure. I can even back out a little bit. Like, I'll just say I hate reading. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that don't read docs. I am one of those people. And so, what I'm trying to do with the visual language of everything that we're going to deploy, is excite and sort of like subconsciously educate people on the product. So we've worked very hard to make, this universe that we'll be releasing. It's like soaked in the essence of the product, so you can sort of feel what the product is doing as opposed to like go and learn technically what it's doing. In a lot of ways, Autopools and Autopilot is pretty simple. So I think it's going to be very effective at educating the type of person who just is not going to click on a GitHub link.
And on,
go ahead.
I don't want to dox your work, Paul, but me and Paul have also been spending some time together to make sick video assets that are at the same time very educative. And you can expect, for example, these simplified system diagrams where we go through the autopilot architecture and in a very interactive manner, we explain what's happening under the hood so that the people that similarly to Paul do not like rotation can get a very strong intuition on how autopilot works.
Exactly. And I mean, there's an argument that this is a superior educational tool generally, at least as like a funnel for people to then at least join the Discord and then start to go down the rabbit hole. But these will be very loud, flashy assets that should generate some significant attention. We've worked very hard on them. I think I said in the past, I had a person who's manually creating content like the old school way, estimate the budget of one of our videos at somewhere between 60 and 80,000. And, we've made it with a couple $100 worth of subscriptions and a lot of elbow grease. But so they're very cinematic. They're awesome. And then the characters themselves are very flexible. The process which we use to create these, what will be the NFTs, these characters which you've seen a few of, the one that I just dropped was this expansion of the core Tokemak Autopilot collection into a Balancer themed like additional tranche of NFTs. And we will do that for any and all future partners or collaborators who get their own auto pool. So we'll be like expanding this universe. It's sort of RPG-ifies like the roadmap. Like I have this fantasy that our roadmap could be construed as like a video game map. And I think I can get it done, and each collaborative DAO would sort of get their own location on the map, and they get their own, this representational character to represent their auto pool, and we'll just be like proliferating this throughout this fantasy world that we're creating around the product, which, it's easy to lampoon it and call it kind of lame, but it's turning out wicked. Like I actually want to see a show based on these characters. They are that good. And so for the Balancer one, we've incorporated their logo and their general brand aesthetic. I think I commented about this in Discord earlier. But they have like this Buddhist element to their brand, the stacked stones, the Zen elements. And so, the obvious move there was to make it a monk character. And sci-fi monk is something that Midjourney definitely understands. It immediately spit this out. So I think I can do that for every collaborative DAO that we integrate with pretty soon, that they'll all come out compelling and unique, sufficiently so that people are like, well, what the hell is, people from those communities are like, what is Tokemak? This is cool. I want one. And hopefully be more interested in understanding what an auto pool is and what we're doing over here.
So on that regard, our branding is super complemented, and you can all rest reassured that Paul has been doing a sick work on that front. while keeping this educational component and making things coherent with the actual system. I want to again highlight how important the balancer auto pool really is. We live in a status quo where manual liquidity provision implies that all of this liquidity is isolated across each single pool. And now with automated liquidity, we hope to essentially demonstrate to the entire balancer ecosystem how powerful it is to use our text to automate liquidity for LPs.
Yeah. On the fun side, new radio station is coming. Fully updated and refreshed radio page is coming. The minting experience for the NFTs is badass. And the website is also beautiful. So awesome content is coming, hopefully followed by a crowd of people.
I also don't want to front run anyone because I'm not sure if we've discussed this already, but we will be adding more dexes to Autopilot. We Aerodrome for our base deployment. So on that regard, we'll keep on growing and expanding with more integrations of destinations for liquidity and assets. And I think that we've covered mostly everything that was important for this call. So unless anyone has any further comments, I think that on my side, it's all, and just very excited for this to come to fruition, audits to get to conclusion, having really strong partners to work with, and just bring out online.
Yeah, thanks, Sharp. I was going to bring up the aerodrome thing, but thank you for touching on that. Yeah, and just to reiterate this, I've seen some of the assets that Paul's put together. Some of these finalized assets are really awesome. So we're excited to finally reach that point where we can pump some of this stuff out. Well, I just want to say thanks everyone for joining. We're really, really excited. We feel like we've got some really great momentum. We're really close to the finish line, and we appreciate everyone for being here today. So thank you so much. We'll get this recording out, get a TLDR summary out ASAP, and for those that didn't get a chance to make it but are listening at a later time, thank you for listening as well. All right, guys. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon.